Bubba Wallace addresses the incident. Stewart-Haas Racing drivers continue to look for their next opportunity, and Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman, Joey Logano, and more discuss life on the playoff bubble. How's it going, y'all? My name is Aric. Welcome to Out of the Groove on the Go. I'm coming to you from the NASCAR Xfinity Series garage here at Nashville Super Speedway. Starting to filter out as the green flag for the Xfinity Series race is less than an hour away. But I just came from the media center where myself and many others had the chance to talk to the stars of the NASCAR Cup Series. Big story late this last week, reported by The Athletic's Jordan Bianchi. A physical altercation broke out between Aric Almirola and Bubba Wallace during a Joe Gibbs Racing team meeting in May. As a result, JGR suspended Aric Almirola indefinitely. We now know he will be back behind the wheel of the number 20 Xfinity Series car in July at Indianapolis. Bubba Wallace spoke to reporters today as part of his mandatory media obligations, and the very first question he was asked was, what happened between you and Almirola behind closed doors?
They don't want me to get into details. Keep some people's images good. I think I said enough at Charlotte last year. So, all in all, life is good for me. You know, that happened over a month ago, and a lot of good's come my way, and that's what I'm focused on. Focused on getting our stuff turned back around, and you know, off the racetrack, I'm focused on my wife and baby boy that's growing and growing. So that's all you can really ask for. So things are good for me off track. Not so much on track. That's what we're focused on right now. So there you go. That's the only question you'll get. So.
Classic Bubba Wallace managed to say a whole lot without actually saying a lot. He referenced comments he made a year ago. He called Aric Almirola two-faced after last year's Charlotte altercation. A little snark there from Bubba Wallace. If you ask me, though, I think this incident is over. I think it's a thing of the past. Bubba Wallace made it very clear today he was only going to answer one question, and pretty quickly the conversation turned to other subjects. You'll actually hear more from Bubba later in this video on something completely different. I don't think this will get brought up again until Almirola races at Indianapolis. Aric Almirola will undoubtedly be asked his side of the story, and knowing Aric Almirola and the squeaky clean image he often presents, I don't expect him to escalate the situation. I don't expect any inflammatory comments from Aric Almirola, but I think this incident's behind us. I think by answering that one question here today, Bubba won't have to worry too much about this for the next few weeks. That's a good thing for him. We may never find out what was actually said in that meeting that instigated the physical altercation, though if I had to guess, years from now, perhaps, once Almirola, maybe Bubba Wallace are long retired from the sport, I'm sure then the secret will come out in a podcast or something somewhere. Will podcasts still be around in 20 years? Maybe terrestrial radio will make a comeback. What a plot twist that would be. Moving on, Josh Berry, hometown Nashville hero, is looking for his next opportunity. Both he and his current crew chief Rodney Childers have been very vocal about their hope to continue working together beyond this season. Josh Berry was asked today in the media center if he still feels like that's a likely possibility, and Josh Berry said, quote, "Some days you feel like it's more possible than others to stay together. I would love to stay with Rodney, and I know he feels the same way, but I can't say for sure. There have been opportunities where maybe that's possible. There's other opportunities where we're not as sure if that's possible, but we're going to keep trying to provide results on the track like we have the last couple months. The way I look at it, it's no risk. It's turnkey. You plug us in there and put the right people around us, we're going to run the way we do now." Ooh, Josh Berry with a little sales pitch there at the end. Well, hey, Josh Berry, Rodney Childers, that 4 team have run very well in recent weeks. They finished 7th at Iowa. Last week were 3rd at New Hampshire. Go back a few weeks earlier, they were 3rd at Darlington, top 10 at Charlotte. Shoot, beyond just Berry and Rodney Childers, maybe that whole team should stick together. Clearly, that's what Josh Berry would prefer. He also said today, quote, "Kevin Harvick, for example, always talked about how strong this group is, and it's true. I'm living it right now. I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't fight for them too. It would be easy for me to come up here and say it's all about me, but it's not." A lot of interesting rumors recently have linked Josh Berry to the Wood brothers, though I wonder if that may be an example of a team that doesn't necessarily want the package duo of Berry and Childers. Like we all know, the Wood Brothers 21 is prepared at the Team Penske shop. Jeremy Bullins, a longtime Penske crew chief, is the crew chief over there. He's surrounded by his guys, and Jeremy Bullins is no slouch. He's won cup races with Ryan Blaney in Wood Brothers equipment. He's won races with Brad Keselowski. He's got a Daytona 500 win with Austin Cindric. He's got a bunch of Xfinity Series wins. Is Rodney Childers better than Jeremy Bullins? Maybe, but Jeremy Bullins is no slouch, and he's been with Penske for over a decade. Perhaps Team Penske and the Wood Brothers would rather just plug a driver into that situation and then surround that driver with all their normal Penske people. They may not be interested in taking the whole 4 team and putting him on the 21. That's just a theory I have. But Josh Berry does say that there are some opportunities they've explored where the two could stick together. To me, that sounds like Front Row Motorsports. They're expanding. They're opening a 3rd team. They're going to have to hire all new guys anyways. Might as well take the current 4 team and just put them on the 36. Sounds easy enough, right? Makes sense to me. I feel like that would be the best overall fit. Front Row is treading uncharted waters. They've never been this competitive before. They've never had a deep technical alliance with Ford. They've never had all of this data. They've never had expectations this high. Rodney Childers has been there, done that. Especially with Front Row expanding, a veteran champion like Rodney Childers would be a perfect fit to anchor that organization. However, to make this happen, Front Row might need to open up their checkbook. Remember, Rodney Childers has considered retirement in recent seasons. You can't lowball him. Front Row has a history, of one-year deals. Zane Smith, they lost him to Trackhouse. Michael McDowell signed with Spire because they offered him more money. Bob Jenkins, Jerry Freeze of Front Row Motorsports may need to step outside of their comfort zone, pay Rodney Childers what he's worth to make their team better and more competitive overall. We'll see if that happens. Again, it's easy for me to spend someone else's money, but I also want to see more competitive teams, and Front Row would go from being a fringe playoff team to a legitimate playoff team, I believe, if they hired Josh Berry and Rodney Childers. That's my take. Real quick, some other Stewart-Haas racing drivers had interesting comments. Riley Herbst, for one, said he has multiple options next year: Xfinity, trucks, Cup. It comes down to what's the right fit for him. He mentions Monster Energy. They're going to play a role in whatever decision he makes. I heard a rumor almost a month ago that he's going to 2311. They're going to help, fund the 3rd 2311 charter. I haven't heard anything different in the last couple of weeks, and Bob Pockris of Fox Sports wrote just earlier this week that Riley Herbst and 2311 are potentially linked, so we'll see if that happens. Noah Gragson, another Stewart-Haas driver, is hopeful he stays in Cup next year but doesn't have a deal signed just yet.
Do I feel like I need to go out and prove myself? A little bit, but it's not going 110%. It's going my 100%, 95 to 100.
Finally, it is hot out here. Let's talk playoffs. Including Nashville this weekend, there are 8 races remaining until the Cup Series playoff field is set, and a weird mix of tracks coming up. You've got, Nashville, Pocono, Michigan, Indianapolis, some weird intermediates. You've got a street course next week. There's a short track with Richmond, Daytona just a couple months away. Let's start with Joey Logano, who this past week vaulted back into the top 16. He's 13 points to the good. I asked the 2-time champion where he feels Team Penske needs to improve the most to make a run at this year's playoffs.
Mile and a halves. The faster tracks is where we've been off probably the most. The short tracks have been our strength, where we can win on short tracks. We just got to get a little bit quicker on the mile and a halves. Road courses are probably somewhere in between, I think. Every road course is so different. It's hard to rank your road course program because some tracks are smooth, some are bumpy, some are fast, some are slow, some have a lot of tire wear, some have any. It's just really hard to figure out where you are in those.
Alex Bowman may be starting to sweat. He was 66 points to the good last week, but an engine failure now has him plus 59. He's been extremely consistent this season, but hasn't led many laps. I asked Alex Bowman if he's starting to feel some pressure when he looks at the point standings.
Certainly want to get a win, right, and just make it easier on ourselves. But the last 4 weeks have been tough. We've had 2 mechanical issues, and can't really afford that this time of the year. So certainly could have been worse last week. I think a lot of guys had issues that kind of saved us, but it's definitely on our mind. I'd be lying to you if I said it wasn't.
Good luck to Alex Bowman this weekend. It's the Ally 400. I guess in a way it's like a home race for him, although Nashville the last 3 years hasn't been too kind to AB. We'll see if he can bounce back in a big way tomorrow afternoon. Who's next? Let's go back to Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace was caught up in a crash with Noah Gragson at New Hampshire and fell outside of the playoffs. Now he's 17th on the grid, minus 13. Similar to what I asked Logano, I asked Bubba if there's a type of track he feels he and his team are best suited for of the ones coming up. And this is what Bubba had to say.
Chicago. What's next? Pocono, Indy. Those tracks are good for us. I mean, hell, we're going back.
Richmond, Michigan.
Richmond, yeah. I mean, a lot of good tracks coming for us. So aside from Chicago, all the ones that we're going to, I'm looking to turn some heads in Chicago, hopefully like in a good way.
Bubba has historically run well at the big fast tracks. We've got a run of those coming up after the Chicago street race, which you can tell he's really looking forward to. Chase Briscoe re-entered the playoff conversation after a second-place run last weekend at New Hampshire. He's only 25 points out. I asked him, do you race any differently these next few weeks to try and maximize points? This is what he said.
If New Hampshire would have rained out when it actually probably should have, we were going to be 60 points outside the cutoff, and at that point, I think you have to win, especially with only 8 races left. But now being 25 points out, if there's no new winner, like you could certainly point your way in. But we got to get stage points. That's something where if you look at, I think we only had like 20 stage points all year long. If we just had some stage points, we'd be all right. So, yeah, I definitely think we can point our way in. We need to have good days. Last weekend wasn't a good day. It was just a good finish. So hopefully we can have some more speed. Truthfully, this next kind of stretch of races has not been statistically very good for us at all as a race team. So hopefully we can turn it around and definitely feel like we're in the mix right now. We just have to execute. And, some of them other guys have to kind of eliminate themselves. Like, last week we got really lucky just that those guys were able to have bad days. So we just have to be able to capitalize on it when they do.
Chase Briscoe and Stuart Haas are kind of the opposite of Bubba in 2311. Like, Stuart Haas has been good at the shorter ovals. Bubba and team are usually better at the bigger ovals. After Chicago, we've got a run of Indy, Pocono, Michigan's coming up later this summer. Nashville even is technically an intermediate oval. I hear what Chase Briscoe's saying. This string of races here does not suit his team best. But hey, I don't know what it is. Stuart Haas has found something the past few weeks. I wouldn't rule them out completely. He sounds more down on his team, honestly, than I do this week. Finally, there's Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has plummeted down the standings in recent weeks. He's finished 35th in 3 of the last 4 races. But earlier this week, Richard Childress Racing announced that Keith Rodden would step up into the interim competition director role, with Andy Petrie suddenly retiring. Kyle Busch addressed this change and also talked RCR's performance in the media center today.
Change sometimes lends itself to an open opportunity, hopefully for the better. So, I respect the hell out of Andy and what he's done in the sport and the legacy that he holds. And so we had a lot of fun together and some good laughs and some good relationships. And hopefully that we can better our program without him there and carry on in the future. Speed and comfort, that's the biggest thing. Just guys are busting their ass. They're working as hard as they can work. I know that. We're all doing everything we can all day, every day to get what we want. But just the feel is not there for me, and at times it's not there for Austin either. So what we're trying to get all of that better to, the more comfortable you are, the more positions you can put yourself in and take chances. I feel like I'm having a hard enough time making laps on my own to ever think about trying to make a pass on someone.
Honestly, if you ask me, that's Kyle Busch in a good mood. He almost sounded optimistic this weekend. That's Kyle Busch sounding optimistic if you're new to the sport. Usually the mood is a little dimmer, a lot more snark, more sarcasm, and there was some of that in clips I didn't show here, not related to the subject. But overall, I liked Kyle Busch's tone there. It sounded a little better than it's been in recent weeks. I still have hope for this team. Yeah, they're probably too far out to realistically point their way in at this stage. It's not impossible, but it's unlikely. But they could snag a win anytime, anywhere. Kyle Busch, the number 8, won 3 races last year. The year before that, with Tyler Reddick driving, crew chief Randall Burnett won 3 races as well. This team can win, has proven they can win in the next gen. They've just been going through it recently. If they can get out of this rut, there's still time to catch lightning in a bottle. It just takes 1 week with this format. Just 1 special week. Ask Austin Cindric, ask Daniel Suarez. It just takes 1 good week, and all your problems go away. But that's all I've got for today's video, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more NASCAR content, commentary, and coverage. Always fun to be at the racetrack, and this wouldn't be possible without your support on Patreon. Really appreciate what you guys do for the channel. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, folks. By the time you're watching this, I'm sure the Xfinity race is already going on, already happening. Tune into USA, and tune into USA tomorrow to catch the NASCAR Cup Series. Or is this race on NBC? NBC or USA? Just check your local listings. Does TV Guide still send things out? Is that still a thing, or is that old? I have no idea. I really don't. But hope to see you guys tomorrow night after the Cup race. Have a good one, y'all.